Welcome to Indiana Sports Beat Radio, presented by Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington and Southern Stone Restaurant.
Looks over the middle, second guess aspires, throws, does he make the catch in the end zone? Yes! Touchdown! Oladipo to win it.
Another one!
He got
Another one! Another one!
Huge hole! He's at the 30! He's gonna go! 10, 5, touchdown! Jonathan Taylor!
First down by Burke, bounces into Cody, puts it up, scores!
Now, from the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios, here's your host, Jim Coyle.
Well, happy Monday, everybody, and hello, welcome aboard Indiana Sports Beat Radio. Coming to you to start your week. Hope you had a great weekend. It wasn't bad for me. Charlie Miller with us as well. Hello, Charlie. How are you, sir?
Doing well, Jim. How you doing? Hope everybody's doing well as well.
Cannot complain. Lots to talk about. Let's see, Indiana basketball had a game yesterday, so we've got results from that as Indiana gets another win. We'll hear from Mike Woodson. We'll hear from Jordan Geronimo and Race Thompson as well. News from football, the new OC announced. Walt Bell, he met with the media on Sunday as well, so we'll hear from Walt. Lots of other things to talk about. Charlie Miller's with us. Let's see, Don Fischer will join us later, and we'll talk to Jim Reamer as well, as the Forum Tip-Off Classic happened over the weekend, and I was up there for that. And before Tim gets on here, I went to the New Albany Floyd Central game Friday night. I went by alma mater, Floyd Central, and let's just say that was a beatdown of epic proportions that Floyd put on. I think it was 57-26 or something like that. Woo! Charlie, my squad put a beatdown on their rival, man.
Goodness, that's a big time beat.
It was. How was your weekend?
Weekend was good, man. I mean, time on the court, time actually in the hockey rink. I mean, it's something different. My 5-year-old son, he's like an explorer, man. He wants to play all the sports. So pretty cool. The Dallas Stars, they have like this kind of like recreational center where it's like open skating. You learn how to skate. Got kids that, even play, equivalent to club basketball, club hockey. I think that's where it starts, right? Pretty much all sports. And my 5-year-old son was on the hockey rink, man, falling, taking pictures, laughing, getting up. So building some mental toughness. I always love to see that, man. Any kind of way you can get that kind of stuff. Then Sunday, pretty much for me, it's like Groundhog Day, man, on the court. Looking to get better, help players get better.
Absolutely. I think it's absolutely wonderful that kids get to do that. I mean, I got to play what I wanted to play when I was growing up, but it was it's like the basic food groups. Each season you played the major sport. You played football, basketball, baseball, or track and baseball.
Yes.
In the summer. There's some other sports in there, wrestling and whatnot, but there's a lot of times that you don't try out for. You just never know. It's kind of funny.
You said it, so I'm one of those, like, if, what would you tell your younger self? I don't know if people knew this, but I was really, really good at baseball. Like, baseball was like really my sport. I was really good. And I wish I would have stuck with baseball, because I was able to travel at a very young age to do a lot of things, go to different countries and represent us in the States. But I didn't think twice about it. It was just something I did. We've been being from Florida, football was really everybody's playing football, and being very fortunate to live down the street from University of Miami. They were winning every national championship you can think of back then as a private school and non-affiliated with any conferences. So I was spoiled. I was like a walk out of my house, almost like walking to Kirkwood on the campus, going to see University of Miami football players practice and play every day.
Absolutely. There's lots of going on this weekend. Like I said, let's see. Quinn Ewers has decided he's going to go take his show and go to Texas. This is the kid that originally had left high school early, Charlie, with a big NIL deal, went to Ohio State. He's already left Ohio State and now is headed to Texas. I'm sure he and I said last week, because he was visiting Texas Tech and other schools, I'm like, no one is going to outbid Texas here. And that's what we're talking about now, bidding.
Yeah.
They already have the program in place where each offensive lineman will get $50,000. So I'm sure Quinn Ewers likes the fact that that's going to recruit for them some really good offensive linemen. But I'd like to see the package that he ends up with, because I'm certain it's going to be one hell of a package. And Texas is setting themselves up for being able to compete in the SEC.
Wow, Jim, that's like breaking news. I didn't know that. Wow, that's amazing. I mean, that's going to be very hard now to compete with when you're just selling a campus, a social environment. First of all, I don't know if people know about Austin. Austin is like it's really cool. It's a very social town. So, and to know that's happening, wow, that's amazing.
That's sports, man. That's where we've gone to, Charlie.
Yeah.
You missed out, brother.
Oh my God! Come on. You telling me?
Let's see. Brad Nix, quarterback. Brad Nix is leaving Auburn. He's hitting the portal. That's kind of a big news for Auburn, I'd say.
Isn't it Bo Nix?
What'd I say, Brad? It was
Yeah.
Bo, yeah. Bo Nix, he started the past 3 seasons. Let me say that again. He started the past 3 seasons for Auburn. He was the SEC Freshman of the Year in 2019. And on Instagram, a video made the announcement. He missed the last 2 games of the regular season, including the Tigers' loss to Alabama in the Iron Bowl. He had to have surgery to repair a broken ankle. He's the son of former Auburn quarterback Pat Nix. But he signed with Gus Malzahn originally, who's now at Central Florida. Hint, hint. So, but he can go anywhere he wants. And boy, oh boy, would that be a grab for Indiana. Holy smokes.
Yeah, that sounds like to me, Jim, that sounds like to me, nothing against, if he's, whatever he's trying to do, he's trying to rack up he's trying to pad his stats. That's what it sounds like to me. Why would you leave a situation like that where you were the freshman of the year? I don't know the most behind that, but that's, man.
Definitely something going on there. Let's see. I mentioned Quinn Ewers going to Texas.
It's also worth noting, you're talking about Central Florida. They also extended an offer to Michael Penix.
Oh, yeah, there you go. That's exactly where Michael Penix is going to end up, at a non-Power 5 school that will take a chance on him, and he might thrive. He might be able to thrive, and hopefully so for him. But we'll see. What else was I going to mention? What we're going to get to. Well, you know what? Since we're talking football, I guess. Well, now we'll wait to play that clip later from Walt Bell. He was introduced yesterday as Indiana's new offensive coordinator. But we'll talk about that later. Let's see. Plenty of other things going on in college football right now, whether it's recruiting or hiring, coaches going all over the place. The Heisman Trophy, that was named. I forgot about that. Alabama quarterback wins the did you know that was the first Alabama quarterback to win the Heisman Trophy? Bryce Young. I can't believe that. Of all the Heisman Trophy winners they've had, never had a quarterback.
Right.
That blows my mind that Alabama never had a quarterback. But it is what it is. Let's see. Florida State named their defensive coordinator. And let's see. Tomorrow, the National Signing Day, early National Signing Day, ends on Wednesday. So we'll have all kinds of stuff going on that day. But still, lots of football news.
We didn't discuss it. At least with me, I had a chance to meet the young man. as I went to go support his game. I wish him the best of the luck. What's your thoughts on Josh Hoover and decommitting from IU and then going to TCU, Texas Christian University?
Well, I think it was a combination of the unknown at Indiana. He was recruited by Nick Sheridan,
Right.
and all that became in flux at the end. But even though he said to me when I spoke with him that, the coaching change had nothing to do with his decommitment, I don't believe that. I think it had something to do with it. But I also think it just simply had a lot to do with the fact that the worst part of Indiana's game this year was their offensive line.
Yes.
And that would have given me great as a quarterback. I'm like, I'm not certain I want to go there, man. I don't want to run for my life. But also, Sonny Dykes came into the picture late at TCU, which is very close to Josh Hoover. And the fact that he wasn't getting looks was crazy. It blew my mind. And Sonny Dykes was obviously no dummy. So he must have put the full court press on, and it was easy to do with how Indiana's season ended. So it's just it's a horrible loss for Indiana, because I think he is going to be very, very special. And I'm look forward to following him. He's a great dude. I had lots of conversations with him and was looking forward to him being here, but wish him nothing but the best. But I think it's a big time loss, because I don't think Indiana has to go to the portal to me for next year. They're not set at quarterback in my mind. I know that you got Jack Tuttle, but I just don't feel, if you want to get back to where you were 2 years ago, you need to have that level of play.
Yeah. No, I totally agree. I
want to make sure I don't blow my first break.
You got a couple minutes.
We're good. Yeah, we got a couple minutes, so we're good. All right. Let's see. What else happened over the weekend, Charlie? Oh, the AP is adding an extra wide receiver and a defensive back to their All-American teams. To more accurately reflect the evolution of college football's offenses and defenses, the AP will increase the number of players honored on its All-American teams to include a third wide receiver and a fifth defensive back. The AP has named All-American teams since 1925 based on voting by a national panel that covers football, yada, yada. People like me who don't know what they're talking about. Just kidding. The change in structure this year is the first since 2006, when the generic categories of linemen on both sides of the ball and defensive backs were broken down by specific positions. So it's nice to see. Here's the AP just they continue to move along with sports. Too bad the NCAA never did that. It's nice to see people do things on their own.
That's right. No, that's just right on. I mean, because again, as the game has changed, at least I know in football, and it's looking like they're trying to complement that, right, and reward these players for the change. So that's heads up, and that's right on.
Did you have a chance to watch the Indiana game yesterday?
I did not. I watched the highlights. I wasn't really thrilled, to be honest with you, at watching the Get Right game. But what I saw in the highlights, it was good to see the Geronimo have a good game. I'm hoping he can do things like one shot I saw he took. I really want to highlight high post against the zone, catch, turn, shoot. Like that's like great play for him. We just had a strong game. I mean, I kind of figured we were going to do that, but I think it was a bounce back game that we probably needed to get everybody probably to erase what happened a couple of days ago, right?
Yeah, that also. How about the game by Jordan Geronimo, which we'll hear from him later. But I love watching him. I loved watching him rebound yesterday, getting a double-double, but 13 boards. But he was just going after it, man. And I loved watching every time I'd see these two hands kind of come up, and it was him. But we got to take a quick break. When we come back, the voice of the Hoosiers, will be with us to talk about just that, Don Fischer. We're back with more here on Indiana Sports Beat Radio right after this.
We'll be back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington and Southern Stone Restaurant.
Whether it's a celebration.
Hey, Charlie.
Yes, sir.
Do you have your window down by any chance?
I don't. You might hear my air because
Do you mind either pulling over? Well, I guess pulling over wouldn't do anything. Would you turn your air down a little bit?
Yeah, my phone gets hot. That's why I have to keep it by.
Oh.
Yeah, it gets hot, and all of a sudden the sucker turns off. So
okay,
that's what that was about. So sorry about that.
No, you're good.
Good
I
morning,
just wanted
Don
to check
Fischer.
in before we came back.
Yes, sir.
Good morning, Don Fischer.
Hi, Jim. How you doing?
Hey, Don.
How
How you doing,
Yes,
Don?
sir.
Hi, Charlie.
Hey, man.
All right. Yeah, whatever you did, Charlie, I don't hear it no more, so that's good.
Oh yeah. Well, I listen to you. I listen to Coach. Coach John says, "Turn it off. Turn it off."
This
He's
is the only
coachable.
time I ever have authority is whenever
You
I have
don't.
to
You
tell
don't.
people
You
their
don't.
audio
You don't
sounds
bitch.
bad.
You don't bitch back at Coach John. You just turn it off.
He's coachable.
That's right. Just say it earlier.
That's the
Right?
phrase.
Come on,
That's how you
man.
know you were a good player, Charlie. You
You
listen.
just gotta say it earlier. Well, hey, you didn't need. You never know what I said in my head, though.
You just gotta keep the real thoughts to yourself.
I learned
Oh,
from
I'm
the
sure.
best. I
Oh, I
learned from the
guarantee
best.
you. He learned that a long time ago.
I'm gonna say, Andy, way to go. Yeah, you're right. You're right,
Oh.
Coach. You're right.
That just gave me the idea of a great book that could never exist. But can you imagine the book of what I was thinking when Bob Knight told me ...
Oh man, that's a great one. That's a great one. I mean, I think everybody could probably have a
Man.
piece of it.
Well,
Dude,
first of all,
there-
you couldn't possibly write that book, number one, because the language would be impossible.
Right?
A lot of redacted, a lot of redactions.
Yeah, that would
And
have that would actually that would look like John the producer's little screen there. And
Yeah.
Right.
that circle there where you see color and the basketball and everything, that would
Right.
be down to a pinprick.
Right. It used to be amazing to me my freshman year, you guys. I used to remember Coach Knight and Pat arguing at each other. And I'm sitting here like, what have I got myself into?
All right, here we go.
Oh,
Coming back.
because he could.
Oh,
Free. You can also catch Indiana Sports Beat Radio there each day at your convenience, or you can find it any place you podcast or on this station each weekday. If we're not on the station where you live, we should be. Ask for Indiana Sports Beat Radio.
This segment is brought to you by Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington. Now back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington and Southern Stone Restaurant.
Welcome back. Happy Monday. And of course, that means the treat of the voice of the Hoosiers, Don Fischer, joining us. Hello, Don. How are you, sir?
I'm good. How are you?
Doing fine. A busy Sunday, more than a busy weekend for you at Indiana with the basketball game on Sunday. You had the announcement of the new offensive coordinator on Sunday before the game. So, and then I think the women's team played yesterday too. So all kinds of stuff going on yesterday. But most importantly, Indiana had a game with Merrimack, in which the get right game, as we like to call them. And by the score, it certainly got right.
Yeah, there's no question. Merrimack was a welcome treat for the basketball team after one of the more disappointing losses we've seen in a long time at Wisconsin earlier in the week on Wednesday. I mean, the first half of that ball game was one of the best first halves I've seen Indiana play in several years now. They dominated Wisconsin until the last minute or so of the first half. They let a 22-point lead slip to 17 at halftime, and maybe that was the glaring scenario that was going to take place in the second half, because the second half was a total opposite performance by Indiana. so disappointing. Obviously, Xavier Johnson played so well in the first half and then so poorly in the second half. He tried to take the game over, I think, a little bit too much, trying to make things happen, force things. It wasn't just Xavier, though. I mean, nobody played in the second half like they did in the first half, where they shot the ball tremendously in the first half outside. They were working the ball in, patience from everybody. The bigs both had patience in the first half. The second half, not so much. It was just one of those things where everything that they did well in the first half, they did poorly in the second, and it cost them big time.
Charlie, we always hear, and Don says it too, that talk about games being won or lost at the end and the beginning of halves. And a lot of times we'll see that happen or not happen. There was without question how that happened in this game. Like Don mentioned, they had a 22-point lead, let it slip to 17 right before the half. So Wisconsin chipped off right at the beginning. And then when they came back out, they did it again. So this game, to me, it was lost at the end of the first half and beginning of the second half.
Yeah, I think I mentioned, Jim, I'll just kind of bring it back up to you, Don, as I was on the postgame show. I saw the slippage happen towards the last 2 minutes of the first half, Don. I didn't like how we finished. I didn't like it. I saw the slippage, and I was like, man, oh my God, like it's just one of those things as a player, you just know, okay, this is going to be a dogfight. And it was. Wisconsin chipped away at it, possession by possession. We got tighter, we got more impatient, as you mentioned, and all of a sudden it takes a big shot that was forced, but again, he made it in the corner, and they take their first lead late in the game. But I saw the writing on the walls, man. We didn't secure that win. We didn't take care of the ball. I thought Xavier Johnson, nothing against him, he was just indecisive. As I was mentioning, he was getting too low and down in the paint on the pick and rolls. Right. And he had no options. Like you could see his head was on a swivel, and now I got to throw up shots because I'm so low in the paint. Or I'm driving so hard left, shooting the right-hand shot. That's tough. Now it's 5-on-4 getting back on defense. It was just we were out of position, out of whack, and again we just lost that game. And I'm hoping it was a lesson learned.
Well, that's the thing. Is the lesson learned? Can this team take those lessons and utilize them as the season progresses? Because we've seen this happen before. It's not like this is the first team that's ever lost the lead toward the end of the first half and then plays really bad in the second half. We've seen this happen many times over the years, or I have at least. That said, you've got to learn from that. And the question is, and the coaching staff has to learn from that as well. That may take some kind of a total change up in what you're trying to do out there. You may start 5 different faces to start the second half just to get everybody on board, understanding we can't finish that way at the end of a half and expect us to turn things around in the second half and be really good. It's not going to change that way. So I don't know what you do. I'm not a coach, never have been, don't pretend to be. Haven't stayed at a Holiday Inn last night. The X's and O's, that's all up to coaches and how they motivate their players. And that's part of coaching. And Mike Woodson's going to have to learn at the college level. Sometimes that takes more coaching than it does at the NBA level.
Well, he said it best, right? My last point, Jim, if you don't mind, he, in his presser, he said, I gotta help these guys find a way to win. And I think, unfortunately, John, Jim and Don, I think you need those kind of games, even though who wants to have those? But now you have reference points, right? So you actually have it. You can now create best practices from this, and you hope everybody's hands are on deck when you see the writing on the wall again, when slippage happens, probably more timeouts, more coaching moments, more teachable moments versus just letting it play out.
Yesterday, if you look at the stats, the numbers look really good for a lot of the players. You got your standard from Trace Jackson Davis, 16, and what do you end up with? 9, almost a double-double. Race Thompson, 14 and 7. And then how about Jordan Geronimo with a double-double in 13 minutes, 13 points and 13 rebounds. A great day for him. And Don, it seemed like every time I saw a ball go up, I would see two hands go up higher than everyone else, and it was Jordan Geronimo.
Well, part of that was the fact that nobody on the Merrimack team had hands that high. They were not a big team by any stretch of the imagination.
No.
And Indiana dominated the boards 54-16. So, part of that was the fact that this was a team that was undersized and outmanned. But that said, Jordan Geronimo to me this year has been kind of an anomaly. He has not played the way I anticipated he would have played like he did yesterday throughout most of this season. He has not handled the ball very well when he's not catching the ball cleanly a lot of the time. Yesterday he did that. I've been kind of concerned about his performances up to this point because he hasn't given them big, valuable minutes like he did yesterday throughout. Because I thought that would be more the norm rather than the exception at this point. That said, he did have that kind of game yesterday. So I hope that buoys his confidence and the confidence level that he should be playing with, because he's a phenomenal athlete. At 6'6", he can rebound with anybody. If you watched him last year, the things that he did last season against Luka Garza, against Kofi Coburn, how he played against those guys fearlessly. I think those are all the things that I judged him on coming into the season, believing that, man, this guy's going to get it done. He's going to really help this team coming off the bench or whatever role that Mike Woodson has for him. And up to this point, he had not done that. And so yesterday was a big, big bright spot for me in regard to Jordan. And I think he's going to be one of those very valuable pieces if he can continue to build on his performance of yesterday, because honestly, that was really impressive.
Yeah, he did a tremendous job. And once he gets the offensive to match the defensive, he's a guy that can end up in the NBA strictly because of his athletic ability.
Well, I've said this all along, and Charlie, you're better at probably gauging this than I, but Jordan Geronimo to me is kind of like, and I don't want to say he's like that guy, but he's kind of like Draymond Green when he was in college, an undersized guy that just banged and was fearless and went out there and played with confidence and that energy level, all those kinds of things. And that's kind of what Jordan reminded me of last year when he came into ball games. He had all of those intangible things going for him, and obviously not a finished product by any stretch, and not where Draymond Green was at the end of his college career. But my point is, he's an undersized guy that plays like a guy that's 6'9". And I really like that. And that's where I think he can really help this basketball team. And I don't know, is my analogy not a good one as far as Draymond Green is concerned?
No, it's not good. It's great. And you're right on. And I think a role type player, and I say role as in obviously we know Draymond Green starts, but a role type player that's a glue. He's the nucleus, right? He is the nucleus that helps people get in position. We don't marvel at his scoring, but he can score the ball when needed. But he puts people in position and he holds people accountable. You are right on. I never thought about that, but that's an excellent role model. I call that a windshield effect. That's an excellent windshield effect for Jordan, a player like Draymond Green.
And I think that's, to me, that's what needs to be emphasized to him.
Yeah.
He doesn't have to be the star, the scoring star. He can do so many other things to help this basketball team become a really good basketball team.
Yeah, because he can guard. He can guard. I mean, he can guard every position. That's what. So you just he can guard 1 through 5. He can bring the ball up the court. So the pressure for me to him, from my perspective, there's no pressure to do those things. Trace is going to get your numbers. Xavier's going to help you out. Race is going to come through. Paul's going to shoot. You just be the intangible guy, right? The stuff that we call it the 80-20 plays now, right? The hustle plays, right? The going up to the rebound, the loose ball fights. The small things that really, really make a difference. May not make a difference on the stat sheet, but can make a difference and impact on that club. So you just, man, that's you're spot on.
Yeah.
This week, Don, Indiana has the week off as finals have set in, but at the end of the week, Saturday, the final installment of the Crossroads Classic up at Gainbridge Fieldhouse versus Notre Dame, who is coming off of a big win over Kentucky, so they're going to be jacked up. They had a losing record going into that game, but are able to knock off Kentucky. And I think I saw where under John Calipari, Kentucky is 1-6 or 1-7 in his entire career there in true road games. That's why he doesn't ever go anywhere to play anybody.
I was going to bring that very thing. I was going to say, well, apparently John Calipari will never take his team to South Bend again or
Indiana, or just the state of Indiana. Period.
That's the whole point. The whole point being the fact that he dumped Indiana after Indiana beat him in Assembly Hall back in 2012, never played Indiana again after that in Assembly Hall or at Lexington for that matter. Here's the whole point. Notre Dame is a better basketball team than people think they are, even though they have not played up to their capability throughout the season here early on. They are a good ball club, and Mike Bray does a great job of coaching these kids and gets them to play hard. And it'll be interesting to see how Indiana handles that on Saturday after a week, basically, that they had semester exams to deal with and all those things that are out of the ordinary in the sense of regular classes and those kinds of things.
Yep. So looking forward to that game. It's the last installment of that. What are your thoughts on that ending?
Well, I've always liked that kind of a scenario. They used to have the Big Four Classic at the Hoosier Dome with Indiana, Kentucky, Louisville, and Notre Dame, and I always thought that was great. And I like that kind of thing. I understand why some schools may not want to continue it. I think Indiana's one of them. I think Indiana was, we're done with this. And I'm not saying that was the thinking process. I don't know who has wanted to step out of it. Somebody told me Notre Dame didn't want to play it anymore. I don't know. All I can tell you is I think from a fan's perspective, it's a great day, and I hate to see it end.
Yeah, it's certainly something, but I think it will allow Indiana to participate in other things that they have not been able to do other than that. Let's see. That's tonight. You're out at Southern Stone at 7:05 with Coach Mike Woodson, right?
Yep, inside IU football, inside IU basketball with Mike Woodson tonight. We didn't talk about the new offensive coordinator, Walt Bell.
We did not.
And I've got a couple more minutes here. I can do that if you guys want to, but
absolutely, I didn't want to keep you too long.
No, it's no biggie.
Yeah.
I mean,
absolutely.
Hey,
Introduce.
I don't have any exams to study for this week, so I'm good. It's interesting, and you're hearing all kinds of comments right now. This is not the spot on hire we expected. There are a lot of message. I don't go to message boards because if I did, I would have to shoot myself. But that said, let's give this guy a chance to do what he does. I mean, he's an offensive coordinator. He's had success at other places as an offensive coordinator. Yes, they struggled, at Massachusetts as a head coach. And he told us why yesterday. A lot of that had to do with the COVID issues, and he comes in there as a new coach and doesn't have time to practice with his team or anything during the summertime, doesn't have a chance to install all the things he wanted to install. He got behind the eight ball, was in a very tough spot at a school that's not a great football school by any stretch of the imagination. So
worst in D1, I think.
Yeah. I mean, his head coaching, he took a very difficult job, a tough place to coach. And took a head coaching job there, and it turned out to be a mistake. So I don't put that on him. I put that on the situation more than anything else. But right now we're going to find out if he's a good offensive coordinator, because now he's going to take over the role at Indiana, and we know that this offense has some work to do, to say the least. And it's going to be interesting to see how it all plays out.
Yeah, I'm as blunt and brutal as anybody, and I'm like, hey, there's nothing to say. There's nothing for me to criticize. You got to give him a season to see what he can do. So I don't go off of head coaching. I use Cam Cameron, to me, is a great example of guys who are prolific offensive coordinators and just don't always have success as a head coach. But I'll tell you right now, Cam Cameron was good of an OC as anybody. And trust me, Matt Canada is doing that, the same thing. Or there's a big difference between those two positions. So
Exactly.
we'll see it all the time.
Yeah.
And how about our friend Kalen DeBoer getting the Washington job?
Well, I think that guy is just a phenomenal offensive mind. Kalen DeBoer is the best offensive coordinator I've ever seen. And I'm talking about Indiana had 2 or 3 guys that were really good offensive coordinators back in the day. And this guy was better than all of them. I've never seen anybody adjust within the game itself, make adjustments or make play calls and things like that because of the situation that took place as well as he did. That guy was tremendous as an offensive coordinator. I don't know what he's like as a head coach, but he obviously had a good enough record at Fresno where people got excited about him. But this guy is a tremendous football coach, period. And I wish him nothing but the best at Washington. I think he'll be successful there as well.
Yeah, I feel the exact same. I couldn't have said it any better. Don, thank you so much for joining us, man. We appreciate it as always. Look forward to next week. See what the results from Crossroads Classic are.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it. Talk to you next week.
You bet. The great Don Fischer joining us here on Indiana Sports Beat Radio. Charlie Miller on with us. We've got more right after this.
We'll be right back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington and Southern Stone Restaurant.
I didn't know that. Davion Irvin Poindexter was a
Are you staying with us, or you got to head out?
Yeah, I got to head off now.
Okay.
All right, guys, I appreciate you.
Well,
all right, brother. I appreciate you.
Next Monday we should be on. We're on Monday. We're on for a whole time Monday.
Perfect.
Oh man, I may have to put some Christmas decorations up then.
All right,
I should do that now.
Charlie.
All right, fellas, I appreciate it, man.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
What were you saying, Jim?
I
You didn't know what?
I don't know. Oh, Davion Irvin Poindexter is in the transfer portal, but Rivals didn't retweet it.
Too. I don't know if you knew that.
No.
I didn't know Davion Irvin Poindexter was in. I just thought it was Chris Childers. But here's the thing. Delon McCullough's getting his guys now. That's what he's been wanting, is his guys.
Well, Poindexter is a walk-on, so.
Well, yeah, but honestly, I think he could have earned. I think if he would have stayed another season, he would have earned himself a scholarship. He's a very Mitchell Page-like type player, doing more than he. What's the word?
Oh, Indiana have another commitment from Miami.
What about that Sneed guy?
I
can't remember. I saw that was tweeted yesterday, but I don't know where he came from. If he's a transfer, if he's a recruit, or what he is.
See, I wish I could share this stuff. Oh. Okay.
If you want to use presser clips this segment or over the course of the next couple of segments, obviously you can. Because Reamer will be with us at 10.
All right.
All right, I'm bringing us back from break.
Honda of Bloomington has the deals for you. How about a brand new 2021 or 2022 Honda Pilot? All the trims for 0% APR financing over 48 months and $0 down. Or how about a brand new 2021 Honda Passport? Also 0% APR financing over 48 months and $0 down. Get more to your door with AndyMooreHonda.com.
Come see us at the all-new Andy Moore Honda, now in Bloomington.
This segment is brought to you by Remax Advanced Realty, Indie Home Pros team by Cheryl Sizemore. Now back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington and Southern Stone Restaurant.
Welcome back. Indiana Sports Beat Radio on this Monday. Just finished up with Don Fischer. IU walk-on running back Davion Irvin Poindexter plans to enter the transfer portal. Reports say. You have a new OC coming in. Surprising to see a walk-on leave, but that's maybe because he was offered a scholarship someplace. Who knows? But he did well for a walk-on, man. Came in a bad situation, but it is what it is. Let's see what else is happening. I'm trying to get back to that. Yeah, that Bo Nix things, man, that really surprised me. The quarterback from Auburn, 3-year starter at Auburn. You really have to wonder what the heck is going on there. But that would be a great pickup by Indiana. That's what Indiana needs. You want to get over the hump quickly and get back to where you need to get. That's how you get there. You do bold things. You don't stick with the same old, same old. You do bold things. That would be a bold move to patch them over to what will be next, whether that's Donovan McCulley or whomever. We'll see. But Gus Malzahn, who got him to Auburn, is at UCF, Central Florida. I don't see him going there, but he has enough film and enough acknowledgement by NFL that he won't have to worry about recognition. 6'5", 225. Yeah, we'll see. We shall see. Indiana, we know where they are at quarterback. So that's that. Notre Dame next up on the basketball court for the Hoosiers, and that's not till next Saturday as everyone is off studying for finals this week. Indiana did land a commitment of another defensive back from Miami, Florida. So that's positive news for Indiana. Northwestern. It's a 2022 Miami, Florida Northwestern defensive back. Jamari Sharp announced his commitment to Indiana yesterday. He's ranked as a 3-star safety. He had a top 6 of LSU, Georgia Tech, Missouri, Mississippi State, Indiana, and Rutgers. So, first of all, beating out LSU, Georgia Tech, Missouri, and Mississippi State from the SEC, that's a win. Great size at 6'2", which Indiana has been lacking there. Their DBs have not had that kind of size, but he has tremendous speed. Clocked at 10.6 in the 100. That's fast. Been a late bloomer in regards to his recruitment, which is good for Indiana to find diamonds in the rough like that. So, still getting the guys in from Florida, which is good to see. We've talked about yesterday's win all that we can. But talk to Jordan Geronimo, talking about Jordan Geronimo. Mike Woodson had this to say about his play as he clearly stood out yesterday. Let's hear what Coach had to say about Jordan Geronimo.
He played 7 minutes tonight. I thought he. Well, again, we're learning how to win, And, that's when you start trying to build a team and you put different pieces in place, you don't really know how long it's going to take. And even though we've lost 2 games, those 2 games were winnable games. But we're still work in progress, man. We're still learning each other as players. Me being the coach and the staff that I have around me. We just got to continue to work. That's all I can tell you, man. I think I've seen some good play, from our ball club. I've seen some bad play, but again, that's a part of it. And each practice, we just got to keep improving. That's the name of the game when you're talking about building a team.
Coach, one of those pieces today, Jordan Geronimo had an exceptional game, double-double, and you talk about adding pieces as you go along. He's one of those newer pieces. How has his game come along? His rebounding, he's ferocious when he goes up to get the ball. He's using his jumping ability. He just seems to be a player that wants to be on the court.
Well, he played extremely well for us tonight, and he has improved from his play from a year ago. And I can't help but think if he continues to work, he's going to continue to improve. That's how you get better as a young player, and it's my job to push him and try to steer him in the right direction.
And he seems to be doing just that. Coach Mike Woodson talking about Jordan Geronimo and his game yesterday. And it was just good to see him kind of come out. Not that that was his first game he's done anything, but I think that he's starting to see how he can affect the game in different ways and just let the offensive game come along, which it is doing quite nicely. Talked to Jordan all after the game as well. He was one of the players that we spoke with, and let's hear what Jordan had to say about his performance.
It's really important to me because rebounding is one of those things that that is necessary to win games. If you rebound the ball, you get extra possessions, and extra possessions leads to more points. And I feel like all these little things matter. So rebounding is something that I'm gifted in. And God gave me the this body to get rebounds. You know what I mean? So I'm gonna use it. So
that's funny. That's probably the most the most grabbed quote of the day yesterday. God gave me this body to get rebounds. So yes, he did. Yes, he did. But he's doing quite now. Hey, let me tell you. Look at the Worm. He made a career off of doing that. Dennis Rodman. He didn't make a career off of being an offensive player. He wasn't offensive player of the year. He was defensive player of the year. He was rebounding freak and a defensive freak, and it just drove other teams insane. But Jordan Geronimo also has an offensive game to go along with that. But a lot of that offense comes from his defense. But he can shoot a little bit from the outside. Is that the last clip we have from basketball, John?
No, we still have race and
we did
think
ask
about Christian Lander.
Oh, yes. We'll get to that. But Race Thompson, also great day for him. But when is it not? He just come, and this is on top of the fact that Race hadn't practiced all week since Tuesday. He had the flu and was sick out all week, comes back out, does the same thing he always does, man. You have to love Race Thompson. And if he does not end up getting all Big Ten recognition this year, it will be a travesty. A travesty. Because game in, game out, this dude is doing it. Let's hear what Race had to say.
Definitely helps to have a bounce back game. Wednesday was definitely a tough loss, and we had time to reflect on it and find ways to get better. So, games like today, just a little confident boost, make you feel a little better. Coming to practice for 6 days before we play Notre Dame, just feeling better about ourselves. I think it helps a lot.
But as I said, he was on the sidelines for that. Well, I guess he was talking about this week, so he'll be able to bounce back. And Indiana taking on a Notre Dame team who has got a bounce in their step of their own after knocking off Kentucky. That was, I forget the stat, non-conference, blah, 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 because Kentucky doesn't play anyone, but good win for Notre Dame. Christian Lander was a topic of discussion. And I wish we had Charlie. Charlie had to go today. He'll be back with us full-time next week, but I wish I had him on here to be able to talk about this. He's been a topic of discussion. I kept seeing on social media, people asking, well, where's Christian Lander? Where's Christian Lander? Well, I saw him sitting on the bench. Did these people not see him sitting on the bench? He was on the bench. If Mike Woodson wanted him in the game, he would have been in the game. He was not in the game because Mike Woodson didn't put him in the game. Look at the stats. You see what players played, how many minutes, and who played when. Even Logan Duncombe, he only played 2 minutes. I think that was 4 minutes, actually, but here it shows 2. Although he got 4 points in 2 minutes, that's pretty damn good. But Lander, it shows, that shows 11, and that's not accurate. I think that was 7. So that's where either that's the plus minus. I'm sorry, I apologize. Yeah, 7 minutes for Christian Lander. But people were wondering why they didn't see him more, especially when these minutes, that's plus minus. You saw Rob Finney for 16 minutes yesterday, and Rob Finney is becoming the first guard off the bench. Well, that simply tells me Mike Woodson does not have the confidence in Christian yet to turn him loose. He's still getting him there. He shows flashes, but he's not going to just cut him loose out there. But he was asked that question yesterday about Jordan, and you can tell by his answer that he got the minutes that he wanted to play him, and that's that, basically, without saying that's that, without putting him in a bad position to say that he's not ready to play more minutes. But let's hear what Coach Mike Woodson had to say about that.
He played 7 minutes tonight. I thought he fit in just fine. We won the ball game. This is not about Christian. It's not about Rob or Xavier. It's about every individual that wears that uniform. And my thing is, whatever minutes you get, you better cherish them and make them the most important minutes to help us win ball games. That's what it's all about when you're talking about building a team.
Say that again. Man, he just said all that matters. He said this. If he said this once, he said it a ton this season in pressers. You better cherish whatever minutes you get. You better cherish them and make them the most important minutes to help us win ball games. That is a common thread from Mike Woodson this season. And this early part, pre-conference season, that is what is being gauged and cut down as you see some guys are being played less and less minutes. Unfortunately, Christian was one of those. But from a minutes standpoint, Tamar Bates, 19 minutes, that's substantial. That's more than Parker Stewart logged with 18. Jordan Geronimo, 20 minutes, more than a starter. Anthony Leal, 17 minutes, 1 minute short of Parker Stewart. Michael Durr, 12 minutes, substantial minutes. Rob Finney, 16 minutes, substantial. Now you get into the starters. Parker Stewart is kind of an anomaly. He's, hit or miss in each game. I don't know if he needs to work harder to get shots or if Indiana needs to work harder to find him. But he was the only starter and one of only 2 players that did not score in yesterday's game. The other being Christian Lander, who, of course, he didn't take a shot. Parker was only 0 for 3. He only took 3 shots. So a guy that's hitting nearly 50% from 3-point needs to be taking more shots than that. They need to get more shots for him. Xavier Johnson, nice day for those guys. The rest of the starters, great day, stat line wise. I think it's time for a break, right, John?
Yes, sir.
All right, then let's do that. We're back with more Indiana Sports Beat Radio after this break.
We'll be right back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington and Southern Stone Restaurant.
If you're in the market, you gotta remind me
Bell for next segment. Well, you weren't late yet. I was going to pop in about a minute, but you're fine.
Well, isn't this segment supposed to start at 9:40?
I mean, in the general time frame of 9:40, yes.
Right. All right.
And
that's
then
what I'm just
Reamer
trying to
will
stay
talk
on.
about this at 10.
Walt Bell next.
Yeah, and I just have one thing from him. We don't. If you don't want to talk about it forever, you don't have to. But
I actually need more than that. Anything else you can grab from him? Press. Let's see. Let me go back.
Is there
where is? I'm looking for the
transcript.
I'm looking for it. It's the Google Drive.
He had one decent quote that people caught a hold of. I don't know who asked it or where it was asked at. It says something about no one cares about your quarterback problems. You got to fix it your own or something like that. I can't remember, though. Something along those lines.
They only sent out the video. I don't see a transcript.
I can pull it back up and try to look for something else once we get
I'm sure we'll need something.
What's the name of the thing that you're talking about, Jim Reamer? The forum something? What was that called?
Forum Tip-Off Classic.
Okay.
That's Southport. They have a Twitter thing as well.
Okay.
Lots of teams played in it. As a matter of fact, let me go grab that. How much time we got?
50 seconds.
Go outside and get that after the next segment.
Okay.
Remind me to go get that outside after the next segment.
Okay. I'm going to go ahead and bring us in. What is this? Hold on.
Cheryl Sizemore from Remax Advanced Realty at Cheryl@IndyHomePros.com or 317-298-0961. Cheryl Sizemore from Remax Advanced Realty. Let Cheryl Sizemore get you in the home you want today. Cheryl@IndyHomePros.com.
This segment is brought to you by Aurora Specialty Sleep Clinic. Now back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington and Southern Stone Restaurant.
Welcome back. Indiana Sports Beat Radio here on this Monday, coming to you high atop the towers of the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios. I'm going to have to do some Christmas decorations in the studio. Just thought about that earlier in a break. Over the weekend, some basketball games of note. Ohio State destroyed Wisconsin. Think about that, Indiana fans. The team that Indiana had a 22-point lead on, number 22, Wisconsin, loses at Ohio State 73-55. Michigan State all over Penn State, 80-64. Number 11, Arizona, on the road, beat Illinois. There's that. Nebraska goes to number 18, Auburn, loses 99-68. Kentucky, number 10, Kentucky goes to South Bend and loses. I wonder what their record in Indiana, in the state of Indiana, is the last few times they've been here. And a great game between Alabama and Houston. Number 14, Houston, and number 9, Alabama. The Crimson Tide squeaked that one out by 83-82. New poll coming out today, by the way. Guess who won't be number 1? As Baylor is expected to ascend to that position. Purdue almost got beat yesterday by North Carolina State. Hell of a comeback to win in overtime. One going away. Great job by them yesterday. UCLA, I think they got a win over the weekend up in Marquette. I believe I saw that. Yes, they did. So, this and that, things going on there. NCAA football, not a lot happening other than Bryce Young winning the Heisman Trophy. Navy won the Army-Navy game. Forget about that. So congratulations to them. And ex-Miami coach Manny Diaz, don't worry, don't cry for him. He's already landed a job at Penn State as their defensive coordinator. Gee whiz, you talk about Big Ten East teams getting better. Ohio State just brought in Jim Knowles from Oklahoma State, who led basically every defensive category in D1 football, all the important ones. Now, Penn State is picking up a guy who was a pretty damn good head coach at Miami. You've got Ohio State's got Kevin Wilson. I mean, kind of a tough deal. Indiana hired Walt Bell to be its next offensive coordinator, and that was he was met with the media yesterday for the first time after it was announced earlier in the week. Let's hear what Walt has to say about his new position as being Indiana's new offensive coordinator.
I think the biggest thing, just from everybody kind of wants an opening statement. I think number one is just how incredibly excited I am to be here. Having been at Maryland in 16 and 17, when Coach Allen was a D coordinator in 16 and the head coach in 17, just what Coach Allen has done here is incredible in of itself. To go to an Outback Bowl and a Gator Bowl, I mean, he has done incredible things here. And then to have a chance to come work for an unbelievable man, an unbelievable human being like Coach Allen, those two things, to work for a guy that's accomplished a lot of things that people didn't think you could do at the time, and to also have a chance to work for an unbelievable human being. Those two things are really what excites me about, being here, excited to be here, can't wait to get to work. And then after that, just any questions that you guys have?
There's a question from Sean. He says, a quote from Bell, "The advantage I've been blessed with here is that there's been so much holdover on the offensive staff. I've got a little bit of an advantage because our staff has built relationships." And Sean asks, "So no changes, question mark?" It's a good question. It's a great question. It's a question that we've all wondered. I'm shocked, utterly shocked that there were not more changes. I'm shocked that Tom Allen really thought that all of the problems lied with Nick Sheridan. While I definitely did not ever think that he was the guy for the job. No, it's not personal. When they named him in 2000, it was a bad hire, and I knew that. I'm just shocked that when you have the absolute regression and lack of play in areas that those areas aren't cleaned up. I know there's a fear of coaches and losing players because of that. But at the end of the day, if you're not coaching them up the way they need to be, then they're not going to develop. Then the team is not going to develop. So not sure that how an offense that was that horrible, and I mean horrible, can only need one change. Tim says, well, that's the wrong one. Ross says Hiller has one more chance, it appears. Could be wrong, but believe he has one more year on his contract. Yeah, maybe that's it. No more buyouts. Money. Maybe it's a money thing. We'll see. But, and like I said, we'll see with Walt Bell. I'm not, I'm throwing no dispersions because I have no idea what he's going to do. I can't say it's a bad hire. I'm going to let him do what he's going to do. The last one, I kind of knew it was a bad hire. This one, no, I don't know. I'm always honest. I'll tell you what I think, what I feel. What's Walt Bell looking for in a quarterback? Tom Allen's always talking about mobility and this and that, but he's not an offensive mind. Not that that's not a good thing, but he's not an offensive mind. What is the offensive coordinator looking for in a quarterback? Let's hear what Walt Bell had to say about that.
But to me, it's about winnable tools, and it's kind of a sliding scale. Is the greater distributor that he is, the little bit less of an athlete that he has to be, and is, if he's not going to be a great distributor, he's going to have to be a really dynamic athlete. But again, it's about winnable tools and what can you win with. Ideally, which is probably the question that you're trying to get to. Ideally, you want somebody that is a top line distributor, but somebody also that can extend plays, win with his feet, run situationally when called upon to help the football team, whether it be third downs, red zone, score zone, because we are in a league where if you run these guys a lot, this is a really physical league. And so, but whether it be a guy like Austin Davis, who played for us at Southern Miss, who's a great distributor, but could take care of himself. Mr. Trubisky's a great example. But I've never been fortunate enough to be somewhere where you got to pick that guy. But again, just what are their winnable tools and what can we do as an offense to make sure we're asking that young man to do what he does well and not putting him in a position to do things that he's not very good at. So, but again, it's a little bit of a sliding scale, but ultimately you want a great distributor, somebody that can extend plays, win a couple third downs with his feet and run situationally.
There's Walt Bell, Indiana's newest offensive coordinator. Talking about what he looks for in a quarterback. Well, what does he bring to the game? Passing has been his biggest deal, but one of the things is he's been the quarterback's coach, which he will be here, and that has been an issue to me. The quarterbacks have not only have they not progressed in the last two seasons, I think they have regressed in the last two seasons since Kalen DeBoer's departure. Under Kalen DeBoer, the completion percentage at Indiana in 2019, 67%. Pretty good. Under Nick Sheridan, last 2020 to 2021, 53%. Serious drop-off. Walt Bell, as a offensive coordinator head coach, is at 56%. Not as good as Kalen DeBoer, of course, but a little bit better. And that's probably what you're looking at. An OC that's not quite as good as Kalen DeBoer, but better than what you have now. Perry Hills, the starting quarterback at Maryland in 2016, under Bell, led the conference in completion percentage, though, with 62%. So there you go. He likes to call play action passes for his quarterbacks more often than former coordinators DeBoer and Sheridan. Indiana called play action for Penix less than 30% of the time. Well, that's because they didn't want him running. Indiana's yards after catch plummeted when Sheridan took over from DeBoer following the 2019 season, dropping from, this is a serious number, from 6.3 yards after catch per reception to 4.9 in that 2 years. Under Bell, his receivers averaged 6.2, so very similar to that of Sheridan. So we'll see. But passing is something he's definitely going to improve, I think, at Indiana. You will definitely see an improved passing game. I don't have any doubt. You're almost in an Archie Miller situation the last 2 years, to be honest, for Indiana's offensive output. Bell coached current Carolina Panther DJ Moore at Maryland. Moore was the 2017 Big Ten Receiver of the Year. He broke Maryland's record for single-season receptions that same year with 80. Moore was the first wide receiver selected in the 2018 NFL Draft. So he's producing players here of late. Talk about the running game. Indiana's running game also took a dip the last few years. It just hasn't been there. And that's something Indiana had been known for with, Jordan Howard and oh my gosh, Tevin Coleman, and you keep going backwards along there. But as an offensive coordinator, head coach, Bell's teams have averaged 5.5 yards per attempt on the ground. Maryland's Ty Johnson led the Big Ten in rushing yards per attempt in 2016 with 9.1. Rushing yards per attempt as a head coach, offensive coordinator, 5.5. Like I said, Nick Sheridan was 4. And Kalen DeBoer, 4.6. So there's just some things to add. Here's one that you'll like. Rushing yards at outside runs. During his time at Maryland, Bell called more off-tackle runs than Sheridan did at Indiana. Sheridan, 50% of the time, went up the middle. Yeah, that's why half the time you were going, what the hell is Indiana doing? Nearly 60% running it up the middle. My mom could have done that, and she's dead. I mean, so there's some numbers for you to grab a hold of. That's what you're looking at. Other than that, there's not. I'm not gonna. I'll wait and see what he does. A lot of talk about Tanner Bailey. I think he was on campus this weekend. Sound like a little bit like Ramsey, minus the running skills, accurate short and sideline passes, not a cannon of an arm. Well, you guys would have taken that last year, huh? David Cattell says maybe they should set up a GoFundMe account to fund a new offensive line coach. It's just amazing, though. You think back, Indiana did not give up. They gave up the fewest sacks in 2019. So where's the regression? Why? Why, when you have holdovers of the same guys, what was the fall off? That's the question. And something that I will ask probably the next presser now that I think about it. It's just, I don't understand that. Ross said that he saw where Purdue coach O'Connell is coming back next year. I haven't seen, they haven't had many losses, defections. I haven't seen, of course, I haven't paid attention a ton, but I don't recall seeing a lot of guys in the portal from Purdue.
Their backup dude, who was at one point a starter, Jack Plummer, entered the portal. And I think it's because of the success Aiden O'Connell's been having.
Yeah, because
he might be a candidate to transfer to Indiana. I mean, you've seen some Indiana guys go to Purdue. Who's to say
he is? I mean, any quarterback in the portal is a candidate. Indiana needs a quarterback right now. I don't think Tom Allen thinks that, But Tom Allen also thought that Michael Penix Jr. was the guy last year. They all did. I think that if Tom Allen wasn't convinced of it, then Nick Sheridan convinced him of it. But he wasn't. Jack Tuttle wasn't, because he wasn't developed either. But we got to take a break. We got more coming up. The Forum Tip-Off Classic happened over the weekend as well. I was up there. I was at high school games all stinking weekend. But Jim Reamer was there also. We'll talk to him about that. Some IU guys. JQ Roberts looking good. He looked really good, I heard. Xavier Booker on the floor. Plenty more to talk about. Indiana Sports Beat Radio coming to you right after this.
We'll be right back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington and Southern Stone Restaurants.
Whether it's a celebration, Southern Stone, dun, dun, dun,
Morning, Reamer.
What's happening? Look at you getting in line and call me by my last name. That's good.
Well, you have to, and there's 2 Jims on the call.
That's true. Everybody growing up, everybody just called me Reamer. Even my mom calls me Reamer.
Oh, okay.
Everyone calls me. Most people call me by my last name.
Yeah, for the same reason, because there's just so many gyms. So
that's true. I've obviously Jim Coyle, my boss. One of my bosses at iHeart also named Jim, and then I've got a buddy of mine named Jimmy. Too many Jims in my life, man.
Well, bar I used to hang out, there were 7 Mikes that were like regulars, so they all had nicknames.
Dude, in my phone, yeah. Mike might be the name that is the most. M-I-K-E. All right, Mike's.
By the way, I did not stay for the Cathedral game, so
I was there.
I'm going to end up seeing them
1, 2, 3, 4, 5,
5
6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22.
I was there through the end of the Zionsville game. We could talk about Logan Imes, but with Cupps committing, that's a non-issue probably, actually.
I'll tell you one thing that I think it's just, I don't know if it's a pet peeve. I don't like
51 mics in my contacts. 51.
Wow. That's a lot. I don't like when teams have players with the same last name on, like, at the same time. Like, I feel like last year, didn't Indiana have 2? They had Deron Davis and you have Trace Jackson Davis. I don't like that stuff.
We should change it. Well, there should be a rule. Should there be a rule?
I know you can't help people's last names, but it's something I've never liked.
So you don't like going to Westview or Bar Reeve games?
Is there a lot of the same there?
Yoders, Grabers.
Wait a minute. So when did the Amish start playing basketball so much?
I don't know, but the Bucky boys are good.
You think I'm kidding, John? I'm not.
They drive well. Westview's way more prominent than Bar Reeve in terms of when you go to a Westview game. There's not only are there a lot of horse and carriages there, there are specific horse and carriage parking spots.
Wow.
Oh yeah, they got
parking areas.
Okay, we've got to talk about this on the
air. Here we go. 15 seconds.
Stuff.
Here we go.
So 0% APR financing over 48 months and $0 down. Get more to your door with AndyMooreHonda.com.
Come see us at the all-new Andy Moore Honda, now in Bloomington.
Today's guest is brought to you by Reynolds Family Dentistry of Sellersburg. You need $1 million smile for those championship photos, and that's exactly what you'll get with Reynolds Family Dentistry.
Now back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington and Southern Stone Restaurants.
Welcome back, Indiana Sports Beat Radio coming to you on this Monday. Jim Reamer from Courtside, Indiana, joining us now.
How's it going?
How are you, sir? Pretty good. How are you?
Good. I'm fighting a cough and a cold, so we'll see how this goes. I'm getting ready to message you that right now. We'll see how it goes.
The Forum Tip-Off Classic over the weekend, kind of big, one of the biggies to start the season. Although the season's already started, but some great games there going on. I missed the early ones. I was there for the later ones. You were there for the earlier ones.
Yep, I was there.
JQ Roberts.
I was there to the end of the Zionsville game. Yeah,
which was a good game. Zionsville.
Yep.
I'm shocked that. Well, we'll talk about this. New Albany. What they going overtime with Zionsville or lost by
long
one?
drive. Carmel has. I mean, look, obviously when Zionsville or when New Albany had Romeo, they were a different kind of good, but Carmel has gone down the last 2 times they've gone down to New Albany. It's been tight games. I mean, it's a heck of a drive. You do it on a Saturday, and you oftentimes have a game the night before. And the schedule that Zionsville plays, the schedule that Carmel plays, it's always sort of a tough game. So you play a tough game Friday night, then you turn around and you're on the road to New Albany, usually around, I don't know, probably 11 a.m. So you have like a 9 a.m. practice or walkthrough. And then you hit the bus. I mean, I know it's excuses, but then New Albany will struggle too when they come up to Carmel. So,
well, that's all right. New Albany had an easy drive Friday night up the hill to Floyd Central.
That did not go well.
That did not go well at all, did it?
No, it did
not.
The
Highlanders sent them back down the hill with a case of the red butt, beating them like 56-27, I think. New Albany was scoring like 5 points a period, 5 to 6 points a period. They must have scored something extra there in the last one because it was just, I think 11-5, 27-11. Floyd's pretty good. They got some shooters and they got some bigs that are mobile.
Yeah, well, and the Zionsville game. Look, Zionsville plays is a little bit like Carmel in this regard. Is they will oftentimes turn your defense into their offense. So if your defense is kind of packed in a little bit, then that will sometimes slow them down just enough that maybe you can kind of hang around in a game that you shouldn't. And if you're not shooting well, then all of a sudden it becomes a game. So that was basically the entire Carmel Zionsville game to start the year. But I mean, both those teams will be really good, but that's how that game went. But Zionsville's got a point guard, Logan Imes. With Gabe Cups already committing to Indiana in that class, it's kind of probably a non-issue for Indiana fans to worry about Logan. But Logan's, I would even argue the Logan's maybe a little better than Cups. He's certainly bigger, but he's a fine player. He's got offers from Penn State, Creighton. He's got some mid-major offers, and I think after a full season or a full spring and summer of exposure, he'll end up getting some more high major offers. So he's a nice player.
Starting the day off, you saw Bloomington North and JQ Roberts, and I understand he had a pretty good game.
I love watching him play. He plays so hard. He's got the physical tools that you're looking for, especially when you project what a kid will be able to do in the Big Ten. But he also has something that you can't teach, which a lot of times you definitely can't rely on teaching it, which is motor. There is never a time they've got 3 kids. I mean, there's probably more, but they've got 3 kids. Bloomington North has 3 kids. They've got Marco Fitch. They've got Marco Fitch. They've got Nick Klaber. Both of those are senior guards, and then they've got JQ Roberts, who's of course a junior forward. All 3 of those kids constantly play hard, constantly play fast, always looking to attack. JQ's skill set has gotten a lot better. We've talked about him at times on here. He just looks more improved each time out, and he's able to drive. He's able to drive closeouts now. He's able to actually even beat his man on one dribble, like make a move and get past him and get in the paint. He had a heck of a play, heck of a drive against Center Grove 2 weeks ago, or last week actually, where he caught the ball in the corner, beat his man to the middle, and went through 2 help defenders and still managed to get to the rim and dunk it. And it was more impressive how he got there than that he dunked it, but that he could get there and get all the way up to the rim. I mean, he's getting a lot better. His shot's getting smoother. It's going to come around. I think he's going to eventually get to the point where he's reliable out there. And then the next step would be extending it to the college line, which isn't that big of a deal. But it isn't that much of a difference from high school to college. But I think that's something that's going to be kind of a natural progression for him as he starts to work his way into college.
And JQ, I think, unfortunately, maybe one of those guys, Bloomington guys, that just from a bad timing standpoint, it's not that he's not good enough to play at Indiana, but I don't know from a timing perspective of his position that it'll work out for him, but we'll have to keep track of him.
Well, he has the offer, and they're recruiting him. They're definitely putting time in. Trying to think what they've got. I mean, their offers at that position are just Kwame Evans. I mean, I think JQ probably is as much of a power forward. Let me look at Kwame stuff here real quick. I don't know a ton about him. I know that he's really
super. He's just a great kid, smart, very well spoken, super nice. JQ,
yeah. I mean, I don't see why. I mean, I don't think he's in a position where they couldn't continue to recruit him. They still have. I haven't counted. I'm not going to count on the air for you, but if we get to a point where I can count how many spots they still have to fill in that class, then maybe I'll look at it. But no, I think he's in a position. They've not been real active at that position other than him and Evans. And if they get both of them, then they can. There's no reason to think why they couldn't play on the floor at the same time.
Logan Imes also played over the weekend in the Forum Tip-Off Classic. I did not see that game.
Yeah, that's who I was talking about a little bit earlier. And I thought I've seen them play 3 times now, and he's gotten a little bit better each game. And what he is at 6'4", he is able to do everything on the court that you'd want from a point guard. Now, I think there's some matchups for him at a high major level where he's not going to be able to get downhill as easily as what somebody that might be more, is maybe what a Xavier Johnson would be able to do. But we're also seeing Xavier Johnson as a senior versus a senior in college versus Logan as a junior in high school. But all that would mean is that he would need to be part of some ball screen action, or it would be more likely he would get something off a dribble handoff and then get downhill. And then from there, he just makes tremendous decisions. I don't know that he makes a lot of mistakes in a game, certainly not mental mistakes. He might make a bad pass every now and then. He'll certainly miss shots. But as far as making the wrong read or the wrong decision, I mean, it's been a long time since I've seen him do something where I thought, wow, that was just bad. And, even good players will do that every now and then. But he was pretty much in complete control of the game against Crispus Attucks as far as just playmaking, making shots, finding people. He plays with 2 bigs, which that helps. Any point guard is improved when they've got a good big. There's just no way around it. I mean, Zionsville was able to, or Crispus Attucks was able to scrap and claw because they've got quickness, and they've got some kids who will defend and fight at it, and they're really good at it. But I don't know if they really ever bothered Imes. It was just some of the other kids that they were able to speed up and kind of dig into and turn them over a little bit.
Xavier Booker, and then later on, not the nightcap, but next to last game, Cathedral taking on Covington Catholic from Kentucky. I don't know what they were ranked, but I know at one time Covington Catholic started out as the number 3 team in Kentucky, and Cathedral handled them, but they couldn't put them away. It's like Covington Catholic wouldn't go away, but Cathedral handled them, it seemed like, but man, they would just couldn't quite put them away. A lot of 3-point shots went down in that game.
Yeah. I don't know much about Covington Catholic other than they've got 3 really good guys. They've got 3 kids that are being recruited at Division I level. The one kid I've seen a little bit is Evan Ipsaro, their point guard, and he's good. I mean, he's not going to – I mean, obviously Tayshawn Comer had 31, so I don't know – I didn't see that game, so I don't know what Covington Catholic did defensively. But, I mean, Cathedral just has weapons at each position, and they kind of go 3 deep off their bench that are pretty talented and can play for a number of teams. And
don't they have a guy coming off the bench that has a D1 offer?
Depends on you. Tell me who started, and I'll tell you who's coming off the bench. I've not seen them yet. With their schedule and some of the teams they play, there'll be at least 3 or 4 times where I'll see them later in the year, and it's including the Hall of Fame Classic at the end of December. But I'm not sure I will see them until then. But then I'll get a large dose of them in January and February, especially as I get the end of the year. I get tired, and the games that I go to tend to get a lot closer to home. So
I think that the only reason that they would lose is to beat themselves. They're a very complete team from a personnel wise. But I can see any high school team can beat itself. And that's certainly what goes along with them. But as far as talent, man, they're locked. They're loaded top to bottom.
And Homestead, and I mean, you're looking right now at 5 teams. We came into the season thinking there would be Cathedral, there would be Carmel, there would be Homestead as the 3 teams that sort of separated themselves from the pack. And a large part that was based on what they had last year versus what they were bringing back. Westfield for me was definitely part of the mix of that next group of let's see how they start the year. You know, they go out and they play Homestead, they lose by 3. They play Zionsville, who up to now is, well, at least the way the rest of the state handles things. Zionsville is the number 1 team in the state. They obviously can claim a Carmel victory, and they're undefeated. So, and they play a good schedule. So they definitely are going to have. They beat Westfield by a tight. It was a tight game. They beat them by, I think, 1 or 2. So they've got 2 really good wins under their belt. But it's those 5 teams I think have definitely separated themselves, and I don't think any of them are unbeatable. Because obviously all of them have lost. Well, Zionsville is the only team that hasn't lost yet out of that group. The others have lost. So it's not that they're not unbeatable, but I mean, the Cathedral does have a lot of weapons, but what you can do with them sometimes is you can kind of bog them down and force them to beat you from outside. They don't have their best pure shooter is Jake Davis, 6'6", 6'7" forward, who I think is, if I'm a low D1 team, I'm looking at him because I think no matter where he plays, he's going to do the same things. He's going to rebound. He's going to stretch the floor. He's going to defend. Division II schools should absolutely freaking be involved with him. They're missing out right now. And if I'm a low D1, especially Ohio Valley schools or Horizon League schools, I'm definitely taking a chance on him. Unless there's just something about him defensively that people see differently than I do, I think he's a definite low D1 kid. And he's Cathedral's best shooter, at least on a normal basis. And the rest of them are kind of guys you can kind of take a chance on and make them prove it. But then, sometimes you see games like that where they're hitting shots and absolutely they're going to be better. So.
Earlier off air, was it Westview? It's not Westfield, is it?
Wait, are we going back to what John said?
Yeah, about what we were talking about earlier.
We shouldn't have players on the same team on the same team with the same last names.
Yes.
And then I told him, well, don't ever go to a Bar Reeve or Westview game then.
Westview. Okay, I want to make sure.
Westview, yeah, Westview.
Where's Westview?
Westview is northern Indiana, basically Napanee, or no, Topeka, but it's up in that area. And
Bar Reeve is in southwest Indiana. For those,
John needs to come on here and claim this. He needs to come on and own this. There we go. Come on and own this statement.
Yeah. So during the break, I made a comment. I think it's kind of an OCD tendency in me, or whatever you want to call it. But it's always bothered me when players, and you can even say this about first names too, honestly, depending on how many there are. But it's always bothered me, no matter at what level, when a team has multiple guys with the same last name. And there's literally no real reason that I have that issue. It's just a thing in me. But when you go to Indiana specifically, you actually have a lot of common last names on that team right now. None of them are matches, but you got a Thompson, you got Jackson Davis, you've got Xavier Johnson. I mean, there's a lot of commonalities.
Yeah, but you go X, you go TJD, you use the nicknames, but you were complaining about the same names, but it brought up and Jim said Yoder and
Gravers and Yoders and
Yoders. And I'm like, man, I didn't realize the Amish were that into sports.
Well, you also look at how good those programs have been. I mean, Bar Reeve has been tremendous. And we're probably they can be good at sports. They just they can put time into it. And I don't know that.
I didn't know they played sports. I figured that they were off tending to the chores.
Well, it's not this Amish, but there's definitely the horse and buggy community in both those locations where they do travel in that way. Westview is more prominently than Bar Reeve in terms of number of buggies you might find in a gym, but during a game. But
and that is and people, we're not kidding. There are what schools that have actual parking?
I think Westview has a definite area where
hitching post. They have hitching posts.
Buggy parking only, yeah. And if that's changed in the last few years, I'll apologize. But both those programs though have been really good, and Bar Reeve especially has been really good. But Westview has
won state titles.
Yeah, Westview has too. Westview they've been to the finals 2 or 3 times at the 2A level, and they're just programs that churn a lot of good basketball players out because those kids play it from the very beginning, and
they outwork you.
It's Pentecostal.
Churning the same way they churn butter.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, of course, from the last name perspective, you would have hated Edinburgh a couple years ago, John. They had 7 Burtons on their roster.
What?
And I'm not entirely sure. But maybe 2 or 3 of them were related.
That's the nuttiest thing I've ever seen.
Yeah, so there were 7 Burtons on their JV and varsity roster. Now, how many of them played in varsity games, I don't know, but I do think at one stretch there was definitely 3 that played prominent. Got a lot of minutes in varsity games. But at least Trace. Well, Trace just went by Trace Jackson until he was a junior in high school. He didn't bring the Davis last name on until later in his high school days. So he was Trace Jackson up until I can't remember when it was, but it was definitely not his freshman season.
And Taven Jackson, he doesn't go by Jackson Davis.
No, Dale's not his. Yeah.
Well, it's not his dad.
Yeah, it's not his dad. So yeah. So Dale's Trace's father, and
Dale Davis is Trace Davis's dad. I can't remember.
And it's cool seeing
Mr. Is it Jim Jackson? I can't remember his stepfather.
Yeah, I don't remember. I didn't have their age groups, so I didn't ever really have too many conversations directly with the parents, with Trace's parents. But
it's a good time to take a break anyway, because that's what we have to do. We can think about it. We're back with more Indiana Sports Beat Radio right after this.
We'll be right back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington and Southern Stone Restaurant.
Whether it's a celebration.
1040, huh?
Yeah, 1040.
We're out of clips, I assume, right?
Yeah, we don't need more clips.
Oh, you know what? God dang it. Could have gotten a clip from Jordan from yesterday's post-game show.
We already went through Jordan.
Jordan Hulls?
Oh, I thought you meant Jordan Geronimo. Sorry.
No.
I watched most of yesterday's game.
Any way to get that, John?
What do you want? I obviously wasn't on the post-game show yesterday, so what do you want from it?
Anything about the game.
All right, I'll find one, and I'll text you when I have it
ready. Mercy.
It just... Or we can use that Wednesday.
I'll let you know if I have any issues, because with it being a long video, it may take a second to download.
Or we can use it Wednesday.
What's Wednesday?
Less crowded than Tuesday.
Okay, that's fine. Yeah, they don't play between now and
the middle of the week when we don't have another game.
Yeah.
I'd like to see Merrimack's shooting numbers between the first and second half.
I'll tell you exactly what they were.
I can't.
Apparently, that's how they play everyone. They'll play them close for the first half, and then it's just done for them.
In the first half, Merrimack had 9 personal fouls, first of all, and shot 34%, 10 of 29. They were 35% for 3 of 6 of 17 and 4 of 6 at the free throw line. In the second half, they shot 6 of 25 for 24%, 5 of 12 from 3, though, for 41%, and 2 of 4 at the free throw line for 50%.
There we go.
And had 14 personal fouls.
So they shot better in the second half from 3 than they did in the first half.
Yeah, but
from 3.
But yeah, for 2, they sucked ass.
All right, here we go.
Simply go to thehoosier.com and sign up. It's free. You can also catch Indiana Sports Beat Radio there each day at your convenience, or you can find it any place you podcast or on this station each weekday. If we're not on the station where you live, we should be. Ask for Indiana Sports Beat Radio.
This segment is brought to you by Bubba's 33 in Clarksville. Pizza, burgers, beer.
Now back to Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington and Southern Stone Restaurants.
Welcome back. Indiana Sports Beat Radio. Jim Coyle with you, joined by Jim Reamer from Courtside, Indiana. Yesterday, Jim, Indiana had more blocks with 7 than Merrimack had 2-point made baskets with 5.
In the second half, or
in the entire game. They made 11 3-pointers for the game.
Oh, that total is total field goals. So they only had 5 made baskets inside the arc last night. Okay, I was trying to figure out
total for the game.
Well, I looked at the stuff I was looking at because they kept saying on the air during the broadcast, and I didn't watch the final 12 minutes of the game. By then, I'd moved over to football, so they moved over to the NFL. But during the broadcast, they kept saying, "Well, if Merrimack gets to 10 threes, this game could be interesting." I'm like, "Well, yeah, but the other aspects are." I mean, Indiana was crushing them in the paint. Indiana was getting to the free throw line. I mean, Indiana had seven more turnovers, but they converted 17 points off of Merrimack's 10 turnovers. So again, sometimes we have these turnover discussions, and some of that's on the forums, on the boards, and sometimes
Merrimack
it's not
only
how
got
many turnovers. Yeah,
Merrimack only managed 7.
Right, and that's so. Sometimes it's not just about turnovers; it's about what type of turnovers are they? Are they turnovers that are going out of bounds, especially on the baseline when you're trying to make plays? Or are they turnovers at near the half court line, or the upper, maybe the guard slots or the upper wings, where you're leading the transition? Because those are turnovers of pressure. Those are turnovers of usually players that are struggling with pressure, and Indiana was kind of in their grill the whole game. So, and once they got the zone figured out, they were able to find the gaps in the paint. I mean, it was over. I mean, I didn't realize they just had 1 made field goal inside, or 5 made field goals inside the arc. So they only had 1 made field goal inside the arc in the second half. So
here's another great stat for you. Merrimack's total rebounds, 16.
Yep.
Indiana had 18 offensive rebounds.
Yeah. And I don't know if they can rely on that number.
No, you can't, because this was a small team. They started 4 guards, and they tried the only thing they could try to use their quickness in the beginning. It kind of worked a little bit. Indiana was trying to get adjusted to it, which they eventually did. But paint points, Indiana, like you said, Indiana destroyed them. Where did they go? 34 points in the paint, 34 points off the bench.
To 8. Both
just relentless. 8. I mean, yeah. So they
their points in the paint and their bench points were equal for both teams.
Yeah,
34-8. What encourages me the most was 32 free throws. Getting to the line, I think that number translates. That number has as much to do with what you do.
But the percentage is not great.
No, it's not.
10 of them.
But Race was 2 for 5. Michael Durr was 3 for 6. Fennessy going 2 for 4 is bothersome. I mean, Durr's not going to get in. Maybe if he's effective and can play, but I mean, look, Durr had 3 turnovers and he was 3 for 6 in the line. It's the most he's played all year.
But he had some effective minutes and he looked confident. He wasn't afraid to shoot the ball.
No, and he hit that. The only problem I had
nice little elbow jumper near the free throw.
It was like a half click inside the 3-point line, and he'd be better off just catching it higher and shooting the 3 than he would be where he shot it from. I mean, it was good that he made it, but man, as soon as he let it go, I saw his back heel on the 3-point line, and I was just like, ugh. But it's just kind of the worst shot in basketball. But if you hit it, obviously it still counts, and he did. But that's he shot decently. Coming out of South Florida, right? I mean, he shot the ball. You look at some of his film, and he's not a bad-looking shooter from that distance. It's just his effectiveness around the paint was in question, but they don't mind. I think they would be pretty good having him be able to hit that shot somewhat consistently, or at least enough to be a threat, and then be a rim protector on the defensive end. If he could do those 2 things during a Big Ten season and stay healthy, he's going to help this team.
Absolutely. Up next, you've got Notre Dame, a Notre Dame team that just beat Kentucky coming up in the Crossroads Classic, and it's the last Crossroads Classic. I wonder if Notre Dame will be put back on the schedule like they used to be back in the old days. Notre Dame was always on the schedule when Bob Knight was here. But I don't know that that's going to be the case, because getting out of this, part of the reason of getting out of this Crossroads Classic is because it does Indiana no good whatsoever. Playing Notre Dame would do no good whatsoever. There's no draw. There's no help for recruiting. Indiana needs to be in an event of national stature, of which they're talking about right now, but they need to be in one of those type things.
Well, moving it off the weekend would help. I mean, playing Notre Dame during the week would be good. Look, Coach Knight would always play in-state teams, and he'd always be – obviously Notre Dame was different than the Ball States and the Indiana States, and at that time Butler and Evansville. He would always play in-state opponents because he liked playing on the road. So IU fans in other parts of the states who maybe have a hard time getting tickets, especially back then, could get and go to games. And he also used it because it was a way to get recruits across the state interested in Indiana. And I think that's a good strategy to have, especially when I know it's tough when we have good basketball played in the state. And it's tough when you think you can go into somebody's home arena and it's going to be hostile and they're going to be good. But I liked Coach Knight's approach. I think it makes a lot of sense, and it would be a shame if they didn't continue to play Notre Dame. I mean, because when you go to Notre Dame, you can get guys. It's sort of dicey on when you get prospects at a road game, but you can get it done, and you can get guys that you want to recruit from Northwest Indiana. You can get guys from Fort Wayne. You can get guys certainly from the South Bend, Mishawaka area, the Elkhart area. You can get those dudes to come to your game when they're on the road, and if they can use that as a recruiting draw, I think it does do them good to play Notre Dame. It's better than playing Merrimack. Let's give up the Merrimack game and go play Notre Dame next year, or play Butler. They don't, coaches take a different tact on scheduling these days than what they used to. I always liked Knight's approach, and of course they usually would win them too. So,
like I said, I think part of getting out of this, the reason is to allow them to do other things, to do those type of exactly.
Well, moving it off the weekend. Moving it off the weekend would be good. That would be what gets them into a bigger type of event, especially an event like at New York where they can travel, especially this time of year when you're getting close to finals. And you don't want to play great games during the week. But wouldn't Notre Dame always be like their third game of the year, something like that? It would always be one of the early games of the year. And then they would play Kentucky.
It seemed like it was always in December. It's always in December.
Yeah, but it was early though, because it was all. And then they would play Kentucky, and then they would go and they would play the Hoosier Classic. They would play the Indiana Classic. During the Christmas holidays and during obviously winter break for the kids. And then they would start Big Ten season. But it seemed like they always played Notre Dame the week after Thanksgiving. then that Kentucky game would come up either that following weekend or the weekend after. But does this mean Calipari won't go back to Notre Dame now?
He's not going to come back to the state of Indiana, I would imagine. I mean, Butler hasn't gotten him yet, but he hasn't played him yet.
Right.
Wow, I just broke a thing off my seat.
I thought that was a timely sound effect. It's very good. That was very good, Jim. That was very good production.
I was just pushing myself up. Hey, before I forget, though, Bob Gardner.
Bob Gardner,
rather.
Yeah, if you're talking about the Hickory Gym, correct? Yes.
Yeah, ran the Hoosier Gym. Actually gave me this shirt the last time I was up there, but just wanted to remember him.
Yeah.
Passed away last week. Surprising, because they just had that big event that Angelo Pizzo went to where they added the deleted scenes from Hoosiers. I mean, that just happened a couple weeks ago. Bob was just on the show, John, maybe a month ago?
Yeah, and I had the pleasure of, you were out that day. Me and Charlie were doing that show.
I hate that I didn't get to talk to him that day, but he was always so gracious with his time. Anytime I was up there, like I said, he gave me that shirt the last time I was there, took a bunch of pictures. I mean, it's just cool anytime to walk around that gym. But as I've tried to tell people, I grew up when I was in high school in Georgetown down by Greenville, and Georgetown used to be a high school. It's where Joe Hinton first coached. But anyway, it's just like Milan. You've got like this much room between the sideline and that tongue and groove plywood that goes up the walls that you see. And it's the same exact thing. It was just, grew up playing in that gym in pickup, and it was a blast, but it's the same thing. But I just wanted to talk about Bob and thank him because he did a ton. I think he just did a lot of that. It was just volunteer, and he kind of made all that stuff happen that happened at the gym, and kind of curious what will happen with it now, but just wanted to bring him up.
Well, they won't have any problems finding somebody that can come in there and do that now that gym has a draw. I've not spoken with him outside of the context of his job, and we've gone there. The teams that I coach, our last practice, spoiler alert for this group that I'm coaching now, our last practice at 17 and under, typically we rent out the Hickory Gym, and that's where we practice. And that's been a fun deal for our guys. This has been, I think now I've done it for the last 5 teams. And I'll have a team for anywhere from 3 to 5 years. So this is over the last 15, 20 years that I've done this. And it's a fun experience. And I worry about having games there because there isn't a lot of room. And these guys are all playing in gyms now that have a lot of room. But I love practicing there. I love being in that gym. It's a good experience. He's outstanding at giving tours. Last 2 times I've been in there, he's given a tour. But I've not spoken with him outside of that context. But those box bleacher gyms, that's a lot of teams in Indiana will have that. I coached at a school called Eminence for 3 years, and we had box bleacher gyms, and it's neat. It's kind of restricted. It's kind of like the restrictive, because it's got permanent bleachers, and so there is some restrictions when it comes to being able to practice in a facility like that, especially for a school team where you typically have your JV team in the room at the same time. But it's a fantastic playing environment, and it's does a good job of keeping the crowd away from the floor, which these days is a good thing. And it gives everybody a lot of space on the sidelines, at least the newer ones. But anyway, but it's tragic how that happened. So anyway,
the Gamebridge Fieldhouse I saw is adding self-serve beer taps. Aside from the $1 billion revamp of Madison Square Garden 8 years ago, no NBA arena has undergone a transformation as massive as the home of the Pacers, which is now Gamebridge Fieldhouse. But there are self-serve beer stations, convenience store style, and a Yingling flight deck overlooking the arena now. Sleek new bars throughout the. But that's
been in there this year.
I've not seen it, but Mike Ross that I know that owns Southern Stone is talking about that into one of his restaurants. So looking forward to that. I think it's a great idea, but there you go. You'll have that to look forward to.
Self-serve beer stand. That's
yeah. You put it's like a bracelet and that you wear, and you go up and get, because it's already connected to whatever card I guess you got, and go up and get what you want. Saves time. I like it. Sounds like a good deal.
At the same time, that's great. They need that. That'd be good. That's not a bad idea.
Well, it's coming to Bloomington too later. I'll have to wait to talk about that one, but they have it at Gamebridge Fieldhouse now. So there's that. I have to talk about that with Chris Denari on Thursday when he comes on.
Yeah.
So very cool. Yeah.
Cool.
Saw that. Ross asked, how does that, we were talking about Mr. Garner, how does that affect? I don't know. Because he was there every day.
They'll be able to find somebody to come in. I don't know. I know initially it was his position was volunteer. I don't know if he was getting a stipend or even just a full-blown paycheck for what he was doing, or how they are generating their events. I don't think they'll have any problems figuring out a way to contract that out. It'd be interesting to see if the Hall of Fame, because it's in Knightstown, which is really close to Newcastle. It'll be interesting to see if they can figure out a way to join up with the Hall of Fame or have the Hall of Fame sort of absorb it as a venue. And
which they should.
They could.
I think there's
some
to
logic
see game
to it.
schedule there. But we've reached the end point, man. It goes fast. It seems like always plenty to talk about. But there'll be plenty more next week when we come back. We'll have the results of Notre Dame and lots of other games in between to talk about from a recruiting standpoint. You'll be busy this week, right?
I will be. Yep, I'll be games 3 nights this week, and Saturday we'll be watching one of my guys play, but I won't be at a gym all day, so I'll get a chance to watch. Should get a chance to watch Indiana play Notre Dame. So.
Well, I was at gyms all weekend, but we got to wrap it up. I can't thank everybody enough. A big thanks to Don Fischer, of course. Thanks to Charlie Miller, our good friend. He'll be back next week full time. And, of course, Jim Reamer from Corkside, Indiana, joining us. And John, the producer. Most importantly, thanks to you guys. Without you, we've got no reason to be here. Thank each and every one of you. Hey, please give me a follow at Twitter, at Jim Coyle ISB. And make sure you subscribe to us at YouTube. Indiana Sports Beat Radio, and hit notifications. We're back tomorrow with more. Until then, I'm Jim Coyle. I will see you on the radio.